welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a video of ones. We have one build, one upcycle, one elevation, and one flip. We're going to build a breadboard from scratch. We're going to reuse a magazine rack part. So does it make it a build, or is it a flip or an upcycle? I'm not sure. I think I make it from scratch. Anyway, we're going to do an elevation, which I'm going to take something that I already make, and we're going to build one from scratch. These mini spindle ladders, I usually only make them in white and natural, or the opposite, like right there. But we're going to do a black one, and I'm going to use natural spindles. Something about black all of a sudden is really attracting me. I think it makes farmhouse things look a little modern. You can comment and let me know if you think the same thing. I've taken them to a lot of craft shows and vintage markets, and everybody loves them, but I think they're not really sure what to do with them, or they're not sure if they have enough counter space or wall space to just lean them. So I'm going to try and show people some different ways they can style them and use them. And I've even upgraded or elevated a couple of them to give you some ideas. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Cathy, and this is Homespun by Cathy. And we build and upcycle farmhouse furniture and decor. Welcome to the channel. Comment below and let me know what you would like to see us build here. I got to sit down, my back hurts. And if you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you would hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel. And check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Homespun by Cathy. Now, let's hit it.
Hey guys, I have to apologize for my voice. It's kind of laryngitis time here at my house. Anyway, this was a tray I bought for like $1.99. It was for a Pyrex dish. It had leather handles, and it was pretty, and it was actually pretty heavy. The middle looks like cork, but it's actually a pressed board. So I put some antiquing wax on it, thinking that would really, bring the colors together. But the top and bottom edges are wound raffia. So while the basket part in the middle looked good, the raffia was just ugly. It absorbed the wax and it didn't look good at all. So I decided to white wax the raffia parts. It was pretty easy to get with the brush, but again, even though it had antiquing wax on it, it absorbed tremendously. So I had to do 3 or 4 coats. I even sprayed a clear coat in between, and it finally stuck. So I decided I was going to line the inside with some cedar and put some feet on it. So I had these spindles that are plain except just in the middle. And those are the ones I like to cut and get feet, because I have enough space to get it under my miter saw. And I had 2 sets of feet out of these 4 spindles. So once I got all 4 of them cut, I went ahead and cut the cedar to length. If you remember, I had this reclaimed cedar, and we used it on the planter box in a previous video. So I needed to go over to my table saw, and I trimmed them down so 3 pieces would fit in the bottom of the basket. Here I'm just dry fitting them to make sure. I had to cut the middle section a little bit thinner. But I want to attach those feet first, because I want to be able to put a nail from the top down into the feet. So I take the cedar out and go ahead and get ready to glue and nail the feet in. Y'all know I don't trust glue. So I just prepped them with a little sandpaper, and I actually did put a coat of the white wax on these as well, just to fill in the areas that was sanded off, because I didn't want to distress these very much. And I used a combination of Gorilla Glue and hot glue, because the hot glue will go ahead and set pretty quickly, and I wanted to get these nails in. So I used the combination, and then I was able to turn it over immediately and go ahead and put in some nails. These were large enough around. I was able to get 2 nails into each one because my nail gun was a little bit large to get into the corner. So I just went in each direction and then turned it around and got another nail in the other direction. And then all I did was glue in the cedar. I did trust this glue and let that dry, and we were done. What do you think of this upcycle? I like to use magazine racks, and I take them apart for the spindles, and then the sides are really good to use for breadboards. So this one had some pretty large holes in it where the spindles had been attached. So I filled it with wood filler and let that dry and then sanded it down. I liked the way the wood looked, very rustic. So I had my plan already here. I was going to paint this one black. I freehand aligned down one side just to get the shape that I like. And then, of course, this one had some legs, so I had to cut those off as well. This wood looked really rustic, so I've been making a lot of black farmhouse items lately. I think it modernizes the look a little bit. And so I decided I was going to tape off some chevrons on this board and paint it black. Once I get one of the sides cut, I just take that piece, flip it over, and lay it on the other side and trace it. That way, I'm not trying to freehand the whole thing, which could be a disaster, and I know it's going to be even on both sides. I think I got about 12 spindles from this particular magazine rack. Magazine racks are great candidates for spindles, trust me. See, it looked really good there, so I taped off these chevrons. And if you notice, I've got that smaller one at the top. It ends up being a mistake, but I painted this with Rust-Oleum flat black spray paint. I didn't want anything thick on there, any texture or anything. So I'm taking off the tape here, and I love the way this looks. It's very rustic. I took a spindle and sanded it down to make the handle, and it looks really good. But then when I started to take off this third piece of tape, I hated it. And sometimes that happens, and you just have to roll with it. I really didn't do a great job at taping it. I don't think it was even. And I actually don't think the board needed it. I like just the 2 at the bottom. So I wanted to wax the whole thing to seal it. And as I was working on this spindle, I couldn't take it. So I taped off the chevrons on the bottom and repainted it. And here it is. It looks so much better. I did a fair amount of distressing on it because the handle is so rustic as well. And then the wood you can see through the taped off areas. So now I need to cut this handle. I like to just cut a chunk out of that bottom and fit it right over the top of the breadboard. In the past, I've always used bigger spindles than this because the boards were really large and I was able to use my jigsaw. And a couple months ago, I bought a tool at Harbor Freight that I had not used yet, and I remembered I had it. And it is a mini table saw. It is very cute. Harbor Freight is the greatest place to get tools, but it was so easy for me to cut this spindle. I just cut straight up the middle, And then I was able to turn it to the side and cut 1/2 of that off, and it just worked perfectly. So that's going to fit right over the top of the breadboard and make a nice handle. So I use a good amount of Gorilla Glue, and I put a nail through the top, especially if the handles are remaining natural and not painted. You can't even tell that you have a nail in there. And I clamp it and let it dry, and then I normally go back and put a screw in the back to make sure it is going to be secure. And we are done with this modern farmhouse breadboard.
Hey guys, if you want to build your own mini spindle ladder, all you need are 2 garden stakes. See how they're pointed on the end? I picked these up at Dollar General. They only get them once a year, early spring, and I go and buy the whole box. I find these work best, and if you can find a way to cut the tips off, you can use a jigsaw, a miter saw, a hand saw, and then you can make your own. All I'm going to do is just cut the very tips off. So let's go out and paint these black.
So I got these painted black with my Rust-Oleum flat black, and I misspoke. Those garden stakes are 35 inches long, and when I make these mini spindle ladders, I actually cut them to 24 inches. That way, it gives me good spacing for my 3 spindles. I put them at 6, 12, and 18 inches, and then I have 6 inches on either end. So they're usually anywhere from 6 to 7 inches wide. Anything wider than that, they start to look a little square. So I cut about 1/2 inch off of each of these spindles to make them match. It's a little bit easier to turn everything horizontally, and all you need to do is put a tape measure on there, measure down to 6 inches, and then make a mark at 6, 12, and 18 inches on both sides. And then I place the spindles in the middle where they're going to go, and then just glue them. Now, I go back and put a nail in, but if you wanted to try this at home and just glue, as long as you weren't going to hang anything heavy on it, it would be perfectly fine, like for dish towels or hand towels. I clamp it to make sure the glue is they're going to stay where they should while the glue is drying. And then I just pull it on over to the edge of the table and put a nail in each spindle. I push the spindles down even to the table, so it's not that difficult to get the nail in. They are really small on the ends, and occasionally a nail goes kind of wonky, but most of the time I can hit it pretty good. And that's all there is to this mini spindle ladder. So basically, these are designed to lean. So if you have at the end of a counter, a wall next to your counter, or in your bathroom, if you have double sinks and you have wall on either side, these are supposed to hold a towel, hand towel, dish towel. And if you have upper cabinets in your kitchen, then you wouldn't be able to use it that way. So I had a customer ask me if these could be hung, and I had never thought of that. So she had a great idea, and I drilled some holes in the top and hung this one with some jute twine. And I put some little bumpers on the bottom, so it would have a little bit of space between the wall and the bottom of the ladder So if you were still using it this way for towels, it would be a little easier to, you'd have some space to drape it over the spindle. So I think they're very cute this way. So then I started thinking about hanging them horizontally, and I don't know, it just came into my mind to make one into a cup rack. So I put some cup hooks on there. It would be prettier if these cup hooks were white, but I only had this size that would hold cups in black. So I put a couple of sawtooth hangers on, and it worked out perfectly. I think this is very cute as a mug rack. You could use those hooks to hang some small frames with photos. I really like it and think it turned out really great. And then I kind of went a little wild and crazy here, and I put some spindle legs on this one and turned it into a riser. Definitely not a riser that you could put a lot of stuff on top of, but if you had a collection of vases or jars or something tall that you'd like to display, some candlesticks maybe, this would be a really cute way to do it without taking away from your collection. And I think in the fall, it would be really cute with maybe some pumpkins on the end right there, or some sort of pedestals with little mini pumpkins and gourds all around it. I think you could find a lot of ways to use this, and it may be a little better to drop it down to 1 inch or 2 with maybe a large wooden bead glued to each corner. So there you have it. You have mini spindle ladders to lean, hang vertically, hang horizontally, or to use as a riser. You guys comment and let me know which one is your favorite. And I just wanted to share with you this collection of farmhouse items I've made using black. I guess I did not realize until I put them all together. It's been a little bit of a trend for me here lately. I made the modern farmhouse number board there on the right with the cedar in a previous video. And then, of course, we did the ladder and the breadboard in this video. And I built this little low profile wood tote after I made the blue one in the last video. I decided I needed one in black, and I spray paint a lot of jars black just to use for staging, and I just think this whole picture is really pretty for fall. Let me know what you think. And again, thank you all so much for watching my videos. Go over and check out the items I have for sale on my website at homespunbycathy.com. See you in the next video.